Hey, I'm the composer Andrew Lloyd Fry, and welcome to the second episode of the Composer's Process. So I'm working this year on a set of piano pieces, and this is just documenting works as I'm making them and thoughts and ideas as they develop. So a couple just thoughts that I've kind of been thinking about the music before I talk about the piece. There's kind of this distinction in music, and me and my wife were talking about this, of music that is the activity. So it's this music diverts you from your own life and you're focusing on this musical journey or something. So that'd be much more like watching a movie, where it's you're not really thinking about your life, you're kind of sucked into the story. And music that actually enters your life, and it's you still have this awareness of yourself, and maybe even greater awareness of yourself, and it can be music for stimulating thought, or making the moment you're living feel like something more. And in realizing this music for me is much more entering into your life versus taking you out of your life. I don't know if that distinction makes sense, but I feel in general classical music is much more I'm going to take you on this journey, and this is something different. The other thing I've been thinking about is just asking myself the question, who is this intended for? And unfortunately, that's a hard question to answer. So I'm a classical composer. I feel my music kind of lives in this in-between space. And if if you're a classical music person and you listen to Chopin and Beethoven, this is very different than that, and there's a lot of values in classical music that I don't have. So I freely pick the values that I want, mixed with myself and everything else and other genres of music that I listen to. So it's kind of this business idea of who is your clientele, and paint the picture of who that is, and I don't exactly know. So yeah, I don't know exactly who my clientele is. So there's that. Okay, so I talked about this piece I was working on last time. So it's this thing. Oh, let me restart. So that idea, if you haven't watched episode 1, you can go back and watch that. I'm not going to go over all of it again. So I had this basic idea, and I felt I needed a B section, and mostly just I needed to leave that idea so I could come back to it. So that's kind of the core of this piece, but I didn't want it just to be one idea the whole time. And it's that idea is embellished, but I still wanted it to leave and come back. So I had this chord progression, it starts on C minor. C minor, F minor, E, F minor, E flat, major, D, F minor, A flat major, G minor to B flat major. So I just okay, I like the sound of those chords. One of the things I liked about it is this F minor to E flat, and then it goes F minor, E flat, B flat minor. So it's felt kind of like a Stravinsky kind of idea, where he takes the melodies and chops them up and adds it together, which I liked applying that in a new way to harmony. So I went through a lot of permutations with, it's okay, what do I do with those chords? I don't want to do this. I knew that. So I experimented with what if this completely changed feels, and I'm I don't know. experimented with that for a while, and it like much more rhythmic, which everything I write that's not solo piano, rhythm is like the main thing I'm thinking about, and it's like, oh, that would be fun to like bring some of that into this. And this I'm just like doing tenths. I have to leap. I can't get a tenth in my hand. But then that just like, no, that's just like not fitting the vibe of this. So then I experimented with like another rhythm idea, and it's like, oh, what if it's like I'm going like a little more crazy with the time signatures, and I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but it was like, experimenting with that for a while, and I kind of like that, but that wasn't like that wasn't feeling right either. So I finally settled on spreading out the voicing a little bit. So I can't remember. I don't know if this is called drop 2. I can't remember. But so it's like the C chord. In my left hand, I'm playing C, G, C, and in the right hand, I'm playing E flat. So that's like this E flat is like the note I'm skipping in the left hand. And then I put this C on top with my pinky, and I liked just everything having that C in there. Oh, let me redo that. So that C just keeps coming back. I didn't really feel like adding a melody to that. I don't know. I didn't feel like it. So, but I wanted it to develop and change and kind of go somewhere. So I really like that C. So then I decided like, oh, what if like that B flat also came in? So it's like these like pedal tones. And kind of thinking like a little bit more free and messy. Where it's kind of like this, I don't know, wind chimes. Kind of, yeah, so like not real like strict time, and these are all just kind of like a little cloudy. And I don't know if I would notate that. You know, for me, I'm more writing this for me to play. No one's asked for my sheet music yet, so maybe I don't have to worry about that. That would be kind of a pain to notate, and I would rather just, if someone else was going to play it, it's just like, oh, use this chord voicing, and then just like, you know, randomize it a little bit. So I'm thinking like the first time, it's like pretty open. And then the second time, like, it's a little bit more active. So it'd be like, and that B flat is now like coming in. So that kind of thing. And then the third time, it's like the pedal notes just like keep accumulating. And now we're having G, B flat, and C over everything. And we're going to this rolly thing. So I like, there was a season in my life where I was listening to like a bunch of ambient music, probably like a year, specifically Jonesy and Alex Rice Boy Sleeps. That was like, I don't know, every day for a year. This is like a decade ago, but I was listening to that, and I like just that, I like this is kind of feeling like ambient music. And I like some of that feel, and that expression has come up more in my solo piano music. So after we let's see, what's the last thing I do? It's like this. So this is the last chord. And I'm thinking it's going to kind of like taper off. And then it's going to go to this thing. So that's the right hand part from like my core section, and I talked about that last week. So yeah, it's going to go into that, which is kind of like setting up the return. Oops. And then we're just back. Now the other thing I added is, before I was just doing this. Let's see. With the left hand, and I realized I really liked hitting octave, instead of just hitting C at the beginning, or whatever the root of the chord is, hitting an octave. I really like the sound of that, but I was wondering, should I do that the whole time? Because I like the sound so much, or should I save it? And that makes a little distinction between some of these like mini sections where the harmony's not changing. And I decided to save that for like this part. So I just love the power of that. And it's like this low C is like, almost the very bottom of the keyboard. So I like getting a little bit more of the range in there. Now I was also just thinking about like titles or emotion in what this piece is about, and what I'm currently planning on this piece is being about repentance as an ongoing act. So it doesn't really matter what you believe spiritually or religiously, in sense of like, I think one thing we can all agree on is we're broken and we need repentance. We need to acknowledge when we've made mistakes and apologize, whether that's to people or God. I think like I think I've thought of repentance more as like this one-time act. Not exactly, but I think that's been more the default. And in this piece, I'm wanting it to be about the practice of repentance, and that being like a daily part of our life. So I think the working title right now is Music for Repentance, which is definitely in homage to how Steve Reich titles all of his pieces, like music for 18 musicians, music for malleted instruments, orchestra, malleted instruments, organ, and voices. So based off of that, it's just like, maybe some other themes that the other pieces might kind of like flow into, is the first piece being repentance, the second piece being forgiveness, so the need to continually forgive those around us, the third being gratitude, and the fourth being awe. So that's not like 100%, but that's kind of like what I'm thinking. So we have that B section, we return to this thing. I'll probably do that twice, and that thing is like really like the core of the piece. That's like, it's kind of all about that, and everything else is leading up to that. So after that, I wrote this like really slow end piece, or not end piece, but section. Super slow, super open. And the problem was I needed to like figure out how to get to it, and it was just like sounding really clunky, just going from this thing to to my ending. And for me, transitions, like I often spend like a bunch of time just like stitching my ideas together, and I don't, just personal music value, like I don't like, it's like idea, and it just feels like it keeps changing. Like I want it to really like flow, and that, yeah, often I'm just spending a long time figuring out like how that will change. So what I came up with was this thing. So that's all transition for what I'm about to play. This is like one of the few things where like I don't really feel like ideas just like, you know, like fall on me. It's like I'm just like working at it. I'm essentially messing around till I come up with something I like. And you know, you hear about composers, they're just like sitting down with manuscript paper writing out a symphony, and like that is, you know, never happened to me. So I was doing this thing, and it was just kind of like the rest of that just kind of like fell. You know, it's just like, oh yes, I like need to go to the F minor chord right now. Oops. So I'm just doing C, F minor, C, G minor, C, F minor, C, G minor, but it's going down. So that was nice. Like that's pretty rare, where it's just like, oh, you need to do this, and it just like it drops in your brain and you do it, and it's like, yeah, that's really good. So we go down, like I'll play like a little bit more of this, and we hit the bottom on C minor. So then this is starting the last section, and this got this melody thing going. Wrong note. Wrong note again. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking for the ending, and I would say this, like this little melody thing, I feel very proud of. I am naturally just less melodic, so when I write what feels just like a really great melody, it makes me happy. So I had that little idea, and I was planning on like making it like more than just, you know, it's kind of like three little phrases. It's like those three phrases, and I was planning on like the next cycle, it's like those, changing it where it's like not just those three, but it didn't make it better. It was just like everything I wrote was not better than those initial three ideas. So I just went back to that, and I'm just going to do that twice. Couple things I like about this, it's like super slow and open, but then we have these like fast notes and these grace notes. So again, some Stravinsky influence there. He was like Mr. Go Crazy with the grace notes. And then the next one, so right there. Now, I think a couple things I like about that is if we look at just like, there's kind of this emphasis on the last note of those little phrases. So that's a B flat. And then the next one, that's D. And then the last one is hitting that C. So it's making this little like, with the emphasis being on the last note of all those. So I think that's one of the things that makes it effective. So I'll probably repeat that twice. And the second time, I think I'm gonna keep the tenths thing going. It's like something I really like the sound of that. Not like crazy, like new idea, but I can't get enough of that sound. So I'll probably do the same thing, but the first time my tenths will be here. And then the second time I'll be up an octave. Something like that. All right, thanks for watching episode 2. I'll see you at episode 3.